Hi. On this night, in this morning, October 9th, at 2 a.m., I have finished Battleground. Well, technically I finished it 20 or so minutes ago, but probably more than that. I finished it like 30 minutes ago. Yeah. It's a very power book. So, before Battleground, okay? So this is up to peace talks. Okay, up to peace talks. No, put that thought aside. Shove. Okay, so my number one book before / up to peace talks. Stop itching. My number one book before and up to peace talks was Skin Game, not Changes. And just to go over this super briefly, because I rant about it a lot, I like Skin Game more than Changes because of how many times I've reread the series. I'm sorry. That is entirely because I keep rereading. If I were ranking them off a first read, it'd be really hard. They'd be a near tie for me. Because Changes is a very, very, very impactful first read. But Skin Game also was a very, very, very impactful first read for me. So they used to be tied. But having reread both of them more than 3 times, both of them more than 4 times, Skin Game wins. The whole book of Skin Game the entire story in Skin Game just has me the entire way. Changes, it doesn't have me up until the house is on fire. Martin and Susan and Harry breaking into a Mexico security thing, out the window. Eves, out the window. None of that really had my interest anymore. I think even after just in my first reread, I didn't really care about the Eves plotline. It don't care. Rudolph was hired by the Red Court. Don't care. Just forget all that, you know? So, I think Skin Game holds up better over time with rereads. Initially, again, it's really hard to tell because, he killed the main character. So, point. So my number 1 is Skin Game, my number 2 is Changes. Gotta give it that second place. And number 3 usually rotates. I think it was Cold Days. Just because Cold Days had a lot of laughter in it, despite all of its kind of sad moments. Totally forgot about We Will Rock You and that stuff. Now I will say, the other ones for third place, Small Favor. I think Small Favor might be above Cold Days. Probably. And Small Favor plays a very significant role in this book. So, there's that. I don't know. It's between Cold Days and Small Favor. Turncoat's close behind, but I don't think it gets third. I do really like Turncoat. It is one of my favorites. And then the other one I really like is Proven Guilty. Not Deadbeat. Proven Guilty. And a really quick side note, I said this in the actual videos, but really quick side note. Out of rereads, I just talked about how Skin Game is better on a reread than Changes is on a reread. Out of rereads, the most impactful reread I've had was White Knight. I think I forgot so much of that story that end fight, oh my gosh, that end fight is intense in White Knight. It is just a slaughter. It is horrible. Forget Last Shield, forget about the shield tumbling, forget about all that. Think about the fight before. I totally forgot about Carlos, just disintegrating people and, things happening because, vampires. I forgot about all of that. And if you read, I think when I first read that book, I flew through that. I wasn't really paying attention to the fight. Upon a reread, I read that fight slowly. That fight was serious. So, I think on a reread, White Knight affected me, changed the most. It had the most change. Stop itching! Oh my gosh. Why is it so itchy? Oh my gosh. Okay. So yeah, that was a quick side note, but it's not in my top 3. My top 3 were Skin Game, Changes, and I'm gonna say Small Favor. I know I said it was Cold Days. I'm gonna say it was Small Favor. I think just Ivy. Ivy's fight was intense in Small Favor. Duh. I feel like I'm stating the obvious. That fight is just... That was the first moment where I was, like, in complete awe of a fight in Dresden. Like, that was, like, next level. That was, like, okay, we're taking a step up. Was Ivy just going... It's awesome. It also had a very interesting plot. It had a good plot. It had the Denarians again, which are always great. Had betrayal. Like, Harry's friends felt betrayed by Harry. Michael got shot up. I never saw that coming. I did not think that would happen, honestly. I think that was one of the first times I actually was like, okay, characters will die. Was when Michael got shot. Which is probably maybe part of why I was like, Murphy's gonna die, but you know. So, yeah, I'll say Small Favor. Now, after reading Battleground, what is my top 3? That's hard. That is really hard. I really don't want to cheapen Changes. And I just explained this. Like, I explained why I put Skin Game above Changes. I don't think it'd be right to put Small Favor above Changes. But it's tempting. And I know that sounds bad to Changes. Because, you know, Changes is Changes. You know, Harry's house gets burned out. He loses his beetle. He gets a daughter. And he kills the daughter's mother. You know, all of these things. He becomes the Winter Knight. All these things happen. And it has Tiny but fierce. The return, of course. It has the Lord of the Rings analogy. It has Sonya. I was going to say the line and I thought better. That scene is hilarious. Changes is good. But I think there's definitely a point where it gets good. And it definitely gets good after that point. Like, I can tell you most of the chronological order after that point. But it is literally after 2/3 into the book. It is way in. You know, it starts, Harry learns over a phone call. Harry goes to Mach's. Susan arrives. Harry talks to Murphy. Murphy says, that bitch about Susan. I remember that because I was really happy that Murphy didn't like that. Harry goes to the office. His office gets blown up. He's being watched. Talk to Murphy again. I think the Rudolph thing happened first. I don't know if the Rudolph thing happened first or not. Either the FBI broke into Harry's apartment or Harry went and confronted Rudolph, met the Eves, blah, 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 blah. After 2 assassination attempts on to him, of course, you know, stuff like that. Point. It's a blur. Like, yeah. Okay. So, I don't want to cheapen Changes. And this is my opinion. And I know that most people won't support this opinion. But I think after 17 books in the series, plus the 2 short story books, plus the short stories online, I think I'm going to put Small Favor on level of Changes. And again, I'm basing it off rereads. Like, there's definitely that initial impact. Harry has a kid. Harry killed Susan. Very hard initial impacts. But if I look at the work as a whole, like all the books together, and I look at which books I think were written the best, I think Changes was written good for a first read. I don't think Changes holds up over time. And I think Small Favor was very well written. It's good for the soul. Small Favor is just so much fun. Ellis Gruff. Yeah, there's just so many things in Small Favor. It was good. So, I'm going to put Small Favor above Changes. I'm sorry. I am so sorry, but I'm going to do it. Now, where does Battleground fall? And does Battleground get paired up with Peace Talks? No, I'm going to leave Peace Talks as its own book. And I think Peace Talks will actually be pretty high on the list for me. Some people didn't like Peace Talks. I thought it was great. It's not going to be top 3. It might be rough for it to get top 5. It's probably near that ledge, but I don't think it will get top 5. But, you know, it's its own book. Where does Battleground fall? If I put Small Favor above Changes, okay, that likely puts Small Favor in 3rd place. So then the conflict is Battleground better than Skin Game? I think so. Now, I haven't reread this book yet. I just finished it. But I can tell you that this book had my attention the whole time. And I haven't been in much of a reading mood recently, which is part of the problem. And I kind of felt bad for not being in a reading mood. Which is why I'm finishing this book 9 days late. But, ow. I can tell you most of the major plot lines in this book from the beginning, despite it having been 9 days since I started it. I don't know. From start to finish is good. Like, even before the fight began, just the groups working together, fighting, releasing the Kraken. The very first bit, it was like, alright, release the Kraken. I was like, this is not how I expected this book to start, but we're releasing the Kraken. It was kind of cool. Molly came in with a shark army. It was cool. Murphy got to be cool. You know, she's Murphy. Freydis got to talk about Murphy being hot some more. Don't know where Freydis was in this book, but, you know. So yeah, and then Bradley soul gazes. I thought the Bradley soul gaze was interesting. I thought that was like a fun thing to have on the site. So I like that. Harry went to the meeting. Bunch of talk at the meeting. Ebenezer, and Harry talked. I wasn't actually expecting a talk between the two. And again, at the time I thought Ebenezer was going to die. So that was kind of a big deal. So that happened. And then assassins came after Mab, which was interesting. There's like the fairy army in the sky. That was cool. I loved that. Harry being like, I'm the daughter of Margaret Le Fay, and you're going to deal with it. That was cool. Harry being like, to hell with all of you, and just jumping off. Like, who needs to save their energy? And then fighting with river shoulders, of course. And then there's the Dracul fight. Dracul. I don't think I have to say anything else on that matter. It's Dracul. So yeah. And we didn't see Chandler do shit other than throw rocks. That is it. I am upset. So, offense. Okay. But yeah, the Jontar. That was horrible pronunciation. You heard nothing. Oh my gosh. The Yonton, not the Jontar. What the fuck? The Yonton. The Yonton came in. Yontar, Yonton came in. That was interesting. The Einherjar Jar. Also, Einherjar Jar. Were also interesting. I think they're Ebenezer's spell was pretty cool. Just being like instant quicksand with the help of Christos, of course, apparently. So, earth magic. I can't tell if Ebenezer is earth magic or not. I think he's just good at all around stuff. Fire and earth, like Harry. I think Christos is just solely earth, but very interesting. We got to see what he does, so there's that later in the book. Okay, so that building gets dragged down. Sonya and Butters are badass, of course, because we need more badassery, obviously. Harry and Murphy riding the motorcycle through the city and just seeing the city in ruin. Significant. There's some good quotes in there, too. They reach the bean, and they find out the bean was filled with weapons, and Harry has intellectus to the people following him. Stuff like that. Mab is Mab. Mab is always Mab. That was interesting. There's army. You had all the... is it just Grimalkin? No, all the Malks. They had all the Malks, like, out and about, and they went to save the kid, and Bradley was there, and then Rudolph shot Murphy. Murphy died. Harry's pissed off. Harry didn't get a soul case. I thought he would. He didn't. Technically, a soul case did start. But it didn't keep going. And I like that Butcher did it that way. I was like, okay, he owes us a soul case. But at the same time, it'd be nice if he didn't give us a soul case. Because he doesn't need to owe us a soul case. You know? He owes us it, but he doesn't have to owe us it. I like that he started one and then made it stop. I think that definitely has more impact against Harry. So I like that he did that, for sure. Killing Rudolph. Fighting Butters and Sonya. Big deal. Going back to the square to meet up with Mab and find out, hey, we're about to fight. And then having to set up for a fight. Sonya uses military training to just sort everybody into groups. Taking down the bridge and just shotgunning all those 4 more. And then getting Ethniud. In the first case of Ethniud, and Harry feeling people die. As he stood there. He just felt it in him as people died. That was very significant. I really like that that was done. I was kind of surprised that he didn't feel Murphy die. I was really worried that was going to happen when that was said. I was like, he's going to feel Murphy die. But he didn't. Either that or I already forgot. Which is totally possible because a lot of things happened. So, continuing onward. First show up in Ethniu, got dragged back. Mortars were happening. That was interesting. Sorcery. Mab had rebar through her throat, but, you know, immortal. Stuff like that. You know, things like that. Unicorn. God, Harry rode that unicorn into battle. Oh, it's good. So Harry and Butters hiding in the unicorn shadow while Mab and Ethniu are just like at each other. It's kind of funny. So, you know, they were just like squinting at each other very seriously. Insults. Stupid kid. So many playground insults. Oh my gosh, there's just so many insults in this book. It's gold. Harry had some of the worst insults he's ever had. Worst being like poorly done insults. Like there was like 3 very poorly done insults in this book. It's like, Harry, you used to be the insult machine. What has happened? It's just like, you suck. Like, okay, you said you suck to a Titan. The last Titan. The daughter of Balor, last Titan. You said you suck. So like, okay, I had to get that out. So anyway, Mab gets fried. Big deal. Things happen. Yay. And then Odin is like, boom, and then comes in on Sleipnir. Just awesome. I was like, ooh, I know that story. Which, by the way, I think out of all the mythology stories I've ever read, Sleipnir is probably the most terrifying ones I have read. Ooh. Those stories get bad. If you read the background and stuff with Sleipnir, it gets iffy. So, yeah. But interesting. So, obviously Sleipnir, Odin rides Sleipnir into battle. Typical. And then Earl King shows up, and then Harry summons Titania. So, that happens. Thrown down. They all get put on the ground, but they're all alive in the end because, you know, yeah. And then Butters stands over Harry and, like, protects Harry using the Sword of Faith. Really cool. Interesting. And then, you know, an army arrives. Now, I'll be honest. I think the thing that I most liked about the army, which is very ironic now that I kept reading, was Marcone with his pistols. All right, I don't know why, but I found something like childishly fun about imagining Pirate Marcone. Just like, you know, he had the one flintlock pistol, which pretty old pistol with the bullet engraving and stuff. He had one of those back in even hand, right? And imagine he just rolls up with 18 on his body and then 2 in his hands. And he is like, he really is just Gunslinger Marcone. I mean, come on. He just rolls up with all these flintlock pistols. And then there's Hendrix in samurai armor. I don't know what the samurai armor was for or anything like that. It didn't seem like it was very significant in the end, but it was there. And then, you know, guard's guard. And then after that, it's just like every Accord member behind them. It's like, it's just the 3. And then it's everybody. It actually did start with the 3. I think it started with, I think some of the Winter Court was there first, and then it expanded, but something like that. Someone was there, and then Marcone came up in front. And Marcone was carrying the banner, because Baron of Chicago. It makes sense. So yeah, but just having, like, Marcone with the pistols, which Harry didn't know what the pistols meant, but us, the readers that have read Even Hand, we know what the pistols meant. Those pistols are a big deal. So I was like, oh, he better use those pistols. I was going to be really upset if he didn't use the pistols, but he did. And I enjoyed it. There were definitely some interesting facts here. So I don't remember the order this stuff happened, so I'm just going to start listing them. I think... Oh, I'm already losing. Okay, let's see if I can find the scene fast enough. Okay, here we go. Okay, so there are a bunch of Einherjar first. Right? And then the Svartalfs. Okay, I was right to say that. I don't know. So then there are a bunch of Svartalfs. And then there's the ghouls, which we didn't hear much about the ghouls, but they're probably ghouling. I mean, they're ghouls. Right? So there's the ghouls. And then the Archive. She was pretty badass in this fight. So there's the Archive. And then the White Council of Wizardry was on one side. And then Laura and her crew on the other side. And then a bunch of Chicagoans on top of that. And there were still some winter fairies and stuff like that as well. With a lot of people. They were ready to fight. That fight was awesome. I probably couldn't pick up that many specific details. Learning that Christos did ground magic, that was cool. Ebenezer being like, F you. Like, Ebenezer being called a boy with adult's tools, and Ebenezer's just like, fuck you, and then kills the entire front row. It's like, I'm not dealing with you. And then, you know, tries to kill him. Yeah. I don't know why. Marcone using his pistols, it sticks out to me. Those pistols are awesome. I thought he was going to have like 2 of them. Not 18 to 20. That's a lot of pistols. So, it's pretty cool. It's pretty cool. What's going on out there? Ivy. Ivy was badass. She was just waving motorcycles around, just ripping people apart. That was awesome. The lore people, I didn't really care. I'll be honest. Having reread White Knight recently, I think how large people fought in White Knight was a lot more serious than how they fought in this. But, I mean, they still fought. Yeah. Carlos did some badassery as well. It was pretty cool. Who else is there? A bunch of Chicagoans. Most of them died. Is there anyone else? The Chase? Alright, continuing then. So the first person, this blew my mind, the first person to physically hit Ethne with melee was Guard. I didn't think it'd be Guard. I honestly did not think it'd be Guard. But Guard was the first one there. And Guard was just like, no ankle for you. And then Hendrix legit body tackled Ethne. Suspicious of what's going on out there. Body tackled Ethne. Football player. Right? And then Marcone was like, fuck you, and shot her in the eye with the last pistol. Which wasn't enough, but that's fine. And so, yeah. Oh my gosh. She gets pissed. Breaks a bunch of... I still don't know what she did to Hendrix. She apparently kicked and flailed. There was a bunch of Snickers snacks, and then Hendrix gasped. I don't know if that means that Hendrix had a bunch of his bones break or whatnot. Something happened to Hendrix there, but we don't know what. It was never specified, really. Not that it matters. Guard had her entire leg twisted. Probably hurt. And Ethne went to kill Marcone, and Hendrix took the spear for him. So Hendrix took a spear through his entire body and spat in Ethne's face as he died. Hendrix is an honorable character. Kind of like Morgan, where, like, you don't like Morgan early on, but, like, by the end of Turncoat, you typically like Morgan. Yeah. I think Hendrix was a good man. So, I definitely land there now. I did kind of like Hendrix, sort of. Kind of. I don't know when, but there's like one moment where I was like, oh, you know what, Hendrix isn't bad, but I think probably Small Favor. Because he's kind of autonomous in Small Favor because there's no Marcone around. So that might have been when it was, but yeah. Guard was upset, which confirms the theories that they like each other. So yeah. Continuing, a lot more fighting happened, things went downhill. Everybody got put down, so like Ebenezer got kicked in half. A grizzly bear came out of the sky. Oh my gosh, listens 3 times in this story, just became an animal and landed on someone with a bolt of lightning. Yeah. That was pretty cool. Definitely a theme. It's like lightning and then grizzly bear falling from the sky. I like when an elephant, he chose an elephant, one of those. He was like, I am elephant, and he fell. So, anyway, Listens had his back broken in the form of a grizzly bear. Who knows what happened to his actual body. Ebenezer kicked in half. Ivy got, like, knocked to the ground really bad. Who else were big players that were there? There were some other big players that had their butt kicked. Something happened to Christos. I think he slammed into a building. Who else are the big players? I think that's some of the major ones. Lara got hit a lot. Stuff like that. I'm gonna sneeze. Please no. Okay, no, it's fine. Oh goodness. Okay, so that was all happening. I wonder if Hendrix knew if Marcone had the dinner. He probably did. That's a stupid question. Alright, continuing. So, everybody got put down pretty good. And then, Sonya and Butters were like, okay, let's fight. And they tried to fight. And they kind of got their butt kicked as well, despite being holy swords. So stuff like that happened. And then Lara was like, okay, we'll fight. And Lara tried to fight, and then she got her butt kicked. But in the end, well, actually, Lara was out to the side doing something else at the time. So then Odin is like, oh, you can't use my spear. Malnor, or however you say it. I'm sorry, I don't know how to say that one. I'm sorry. Malignor? I'm not gonna try. Saturn. So he was like, alright, you can't use my spear. And he's Odin. So his spear just goes and stabs the Eye of Valor. And it doesn't quite get rid of the eye, but the eye has taken a lot of damage by that point, and also that sword just started wrecking, or not sword, that spear just started wrecking her, and so stuff like that. By the way, by now Harry put the holy artifact on his thing, so he has the staff/spear of destiny, which I have no idea what that is, but I guess it's a big deal. I'm sorry, I don't do religious stuff. So, yeah, that happens, and the spear just wrecks house, and then Lara's just like, oh, okay, and Lara kicks Ethnew in the back of the neck, and it knocks the eye out, and all of them are like, oh, and they fumble for the eye, and it rolls over by Hendrix's corpse, and then Marcone is like, Heh! And takes it and then runs, and then Lara starts fighting Ethnew, gets her ass kicked. And then Harry's running to catch up with Marcone, and being Marcone and Harry, they banter. It's good banter. Those two bantering. Ever since book 1, it's so weird. It's 20th anniversary, of course, this year. They both existed from book 1, which is part of why I think it's weird to have Hendrix gone now. Hendrix has been a side character since book 1. And to think to have a side character that long and suddenly he's gone, it's just kind of weird. Not a lot of side characters have lasted that long. If any. I'm trying to think of any side characters that have lasted as long as Hendrix. Because I'm not coming up with any. I'm talking book 1. Murphy was a main character and she's dead. So, it's gonna be weird to not have them. But anyway, they banter a lot as they're running. They're just like, na 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 na, and they're bantering, and it was pretty funny. And then, they get there, and he's like, okay, we need to fake it out, and stuff like that. And so, Marcone played insults with Ethnew, which was enjoyable. It was very enjoyable. So, that was great. And then, Harry being Harry was clumsy, and he failed to sneak up on Ethnew, and Ethnew, hit Harry hard, of course. And then Marcone got lifted up and then had his neck snapped and then thrown away. And then, who was it that arrived? Molly arrived, I think. Someone arrived. I think it was Molly. Molly arrived. Molly was on the battlefield this whole time, by the way. Molly arrived. And so was Fitz and Sarissa. Molly arrived and she was like, blah, 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 blah. Fight. Okay, so Molly was fighting Ethnew. And then Harry was like, oh, no one deserves to die alone. So he went to go chat with Marcone. And then Marcone terrified the shit out of Harry, which was hilarious. Terrified the shite out of Harry, which is hilarious. And he was just like... And it uncracked his neck and was perfectly fine. And he looked at Harry, and Harry's just like... and oh my gosh, okay. He's just like... And he's like, you really thought I wouldn't go beyond the title? Which is a point. It's a point. And I'm actually upset to an extent. My friend called it. My friend said, I think... My friend said, and I quote, I think Marcone is going to use the coin for Thorin Namshiel. And I was like, I don't think so, because Marcone wouldn't like the Denarians. You know, that's part of why Marcone got revenge on Nicodemus. And also, I think Marcone would want to keep his will to himself. I was wrong. So, I think at the end of Small Favor, it was said that there were 2 possibilities on where that coin went. Marcone was one of the possibilities, and I think the other one was Vadarung, and I thought that Vadarung had it, but I was wrong. Marcone is Thorin Namshiel, and he gets, like, the eyes, and, like, Harry flips the fuck out. Yeah. And so Harry has a kind of, like, minor breakdown. And, of course, Marcone's like, you remember Mab Slap in Skin Game? Now we have a Marcone Slap. That's 2 now. Keep track of all the big ends that give him a slap. I'm pretty sure Lara also slapped him. I don't remember when, but Lara's also slapped him at some point. So that's 3. Just keep track of how many people slap Harry. It's kind of a fun game. So yeah. Yeah. Marcone ending up being that Denarian. It was very ironic in 3 ways for me, because first of all, earlier when I read the scene of Marcone having all the flintlock pistols on him, I was like, oh my gosh. I literally closed the book and talked to the camera about what would happen if Marcone could do magic, because he has so much will. He's had a lot of will ever since book 1. Like, that's a big part of who he is. He just has a large amount of will. And I was talking about how if he was a spellcaster, he could do some insane stuff with the amount of will he has. Oh, well, he's Thorin Namshiel. Well, fuck. He can do magic now. So, the irony there. And then there's the irony of my friend calling it and me being like, no, I think Vadarung has it. Oh, I was wrong. Marcone had it, and Marcone used it. Marcone using it is the big deal. So yeah, stuff like that. Marcone is suddenly like, hey, I am Denarian, and you're gonna cope. So yeah, and then there's the whole ritual, Marcone fighting, Marcone playing magical peekaboo. I really like that analogy. Magical peekaboo with Marcone. Apparently Thorin Namshiel is British and New Ethniu. I like the detail of Thorin Namshiel New Ethniu. That I find that interesting. Very interesting. So, and Marcone's talking differently, which terrified me. And it still is terrifying me. He isn't acting entirely like himself. Scary. So, you know, get that out of the way. Anyway, fight, more fight. Ethniu tries to do the fake mind mojo, and Harry being Harry is like, you forgot my dog. Which, he said that out loud, so I think that Marcone now knows that Harry has a daughter, if he didn't know already. So, pretty sure that's out there. I think Marcone heard Harry saying that he has a daughter. So now that that's out of the way, if Thorin Namshiel did, well, no, Thorin Namshiel wouldn't know unless he just looked and saw or something like that. I don't know. But point is, I think Marcone now knows that. Ethniu gets locked away, stuff like that. Marcone is a fake wizard. Banter. Always banter. Oh, look, there's the Eye of Valor. Who's gonna have it? Marcone's like, I think I won't take it. And then, of course, Harry uses that against Marcone later. But that's after we find out that Harry's been kicked out of the White Council. Harry's pissed. Go figure. But if Harry talked to people, he probably would have been fine. I think it's Harry's fault. Michael curses a lot. Pretty awesome. I do like Michael. He's a good man. Funeral. Big funeral. Drinking with Guard. Both Harry and Guard just be mourning the people they loved. Well, at least likely loved. And so there's that. And now they're Einherjar, which means that they'll lose their personality. Entirely. They won't be themselves. And so, technically Murphy's alive, but she's not the same person. So, yeah. Continuing. Harry was like, yeah, no. And so he joined the meeting afterward, which he learned about the casualty rate and what's happening, and the president declared national emergency, stuff like that. Problems. So that happened. And then Harry was like, all right, so we owe Chicago. And then Marcone's like, I agree. And he's like, well, do you have the Eye of Valor? And it's like, Dresden, I know you have it. And then it's like, but you can't prove I do. And then, he used that against him. So he's like, I want my house back. And Harry got his house back. And then, out of fucking nowhere, Mab is like, okay, you're marrying Laura. I think out of the entire book that threw me off the most, it's like, what? Huh? What? You're marrying Laura. What the fuck? What the fuck? I don't even know where to begin with that. I think I'm gonna wait until my friend finishes the book to even talk about that. I have no perspective about that other than thank goodness they're waiting a year, which in the Dresden Files there's 1 year between most of the books. So mirror, mirror. One day we will see. Mirror, mirror. But yeah. Interesting. And that's basically the end of the book. Again, there's a funeral at Mach's, stuff like that. Also, Mach has the sign now, so that's very interesting as well, on top of everything. Just a rewind. Release the Kraken. Funeral, stuff like that. Kind of a wrap-up. Molly went to tell Michael and Charity about her new job, but they already knew. Go figure. It makes sense that they already knew. And then apparently they're still going to have a talk about it. Maggie. There's a Maggie moment, of course. Duh. And then Christmas Eve, which I already read beforehand. Because I didn't realize it took place after Peace Talks until after I had read it. Oops. So yeah. Yeah, that was just a summary of the whole book, and I think I said that I think it'd be number 1. Yeah, there's just so much to the book. And I hate to admit it. Okay, I have to confess to something. I have a friend. I'm not going to say their name. I usually address them by the name Vulgarian. Yes, the word vulgar. They ship Harry and Marcone. A lot of people do. It blows my mind that so many people do. It's so weird. But they do. Point stands. And so I've been hearing a lot about that end of things for a while. And I think because they talk about Marcone so much, Marcone is their favorite villain. Since Nicodemus has kind of faded a bit. Just a bit. Not a lot, but just a bit. Marcone is my friend's favorite villain. And because they just ramble about Marcone and the warehouse scene in the trailer and on and on and on and on and on. When I did my reread, I noticed Marcone a lot more. Because my friend talked about him nonstop. So I was like, okay, I can't help but notice this. Notice more details about him as a character. So, when the flintlock pistols came out and when he became a Denarian, yeah, I gotta say, both of those scenes had way more impact than they would have had if I hadn't actually became more interested in him as a character. He had my attention the earlier on books, but he kind of lost me after Small Favor. But he's back. He's definitely back on the list. I think Marcone might be my favorite villain. Now, is Ebenezer a villain? You have stuff like that now coming up. But I'm going to say that Marcone's probably my favorite until book 20, when Nicodemus is going to come back. Just saying. Just saying, it's Nicodemus. So, yeah. You never know. Maybe it'll be Tessa, and Nicodemus won't show up. Yeah. You know? So yeah. And maybe it won't be Nick. Most people think so. But point is, I think Marcone being the Denarian is probably my favorite scene. Probably. It was pretty good. It was very well done. It was funny, but at the same time tactful. It was well done. So I think that's my favorite scene. Sigh. Can I just say that Hendrix had a beard? I bet most people didn't notice that, but for some reason, I think it's, again, because my friend talked about Marcone nonstop for months now. For some reason, when I read Peace Talks, one of the things that stood out to me was that Hendrix has a beard. The entire series, books 1 through 16, Hendrix never had a beard, and then Peace Talks, he's like, I have a beard. Just big red beard. And then he dies in Battleground. But, you know, it's such a minor detail. But when you reread and you see all these minor details, it's kind of cool. Each character has at least one very tiny thing mentioned about them at some point. And I kind of like that you can like go and scavenge for them. Yeah, he had a beard. I don't really know what was going through Butcher's mind when he was like, all right, let's characterize Hendrix. Let's say he has a beard. I don't know, but it's interesting. Decided to grow a beard. I think what might be an accurate theory, this is stereotyping, but a lot of women are like, why don't you grow out a beard? To like boyfriend or husband or whatnot. Like, they prefer having a beard grown out. And so maybe like Hendrix grew it out for guard or something like that. But that's very absurd and out there. We're just going to drop that. Point is, minor details like that. They're good to notice. There's a lot with Ebb. If you go back and reread books with Ebb, there's a lot of minor details about Ebb. Important. Yeah. Anyway, this book was really fucking good. I really liked how now they're doing council meetings at the end. I am very curious what the heck is going to happen to Dresden politically now. Will he become his own thing? He's not technically allowed to do magic publicly, but he's going to do anyway. It means he's going to get in trouble. Stuff like that. Needs to be discussed. So, very important. The world's about to change. Stuff like that. So, yeah. Jim Butcher said that there will be a lot of political meetings, and apparently Harry will be going to them, and Jim Butcher said that he will write some of those as, I think he said short stories, maybe microfiction, something like that. But he said that he will write and keep track of those political meetings so we can actually see them, which makes sense. I don't think they're going to come up in Mirror Mirror. I think Mirror Mirror, they're going to go right into the plot of Mirror Mirror, because Mirror Mirror is also probably going to be a big book, because, yeah, Mirror Dimension, there's a lot to talk about, if you ask me. So, yeah. Yeah, really good book. I am so happy with how Battleground turned out. I can't believe Marcone's back on top again. It's been so long since he was on my favorites list, and now he's there. Just, if the other problem, Murphy died. I don't have a favorite character. Marcone would be favorite villain. And yes, he counts as a villain. I don't care what people say. He's a villain. I mean, he's not a villain. He's a bad guy. Villain. So, you know. He's Marcone. My favorite big-in character, my favorite super uber duper powerful character, as in God or immortal, is Odin. By far. I really liked Odin. My favorite White Council wizard was either Ebenezer or Chandler, even though we haven't seen Chandler actually do magic a lot, and now Chandler is supposedly dead. So, I am upset. Grr. It's just probably Ebenezer. I still really want to see the Merlin fight. I think the Merlin might be my favorite wizard if we actually see him do stuff. So yeah, my throat help would be cool. He did stuff. He's the Merlin. Really quickly, I'm telling Goodreads that I finished the book. Damn. Alright. So, yeah, I don't know who my favorite character will replace Murphy. You know, I'm inclined to say, like, Sonya or Butters. I don't think so. And Michael's fallen out of the game, obviously. I don't know who's my favorite character. Murphy's gone. I don't know who's going to replace Murphy. And, you know, I think earlier in the series I would have said Harry, but I don't think I'll say Harry. I think, and I think this is intentional, I think Harry's becoming maybe a little bit less likable. To me, at the very least. And I think it's intentional. And I think that if Harry is the one turning heel in Heel Turn, assuming that the book is named Heel Turn, which I really like the name Heel Turn, so they should keep the name Heel Turn. Assuming that Harry is the one turning heel, I think that this is a build-up to that. So yay. Stuff like that. But I really don't know who my favorite character is. I have no clue. It's not Molly. It wasn't Thomas before. It's definitely not Thomas now. But I actually didn't like Thomas that much. Bob. Oh my gosh, Bob. Bob in this book was hilarious. He was just like, fuck that, after he saw... That was funny. Mid-fight. Ay. Right after banter. Yeah, I really don't know who's my favorite character is going to be. It's going to probably take a while before I do have a favorite character. Again. Murphy was Murphy. She was my favorite, and I don't know. I really don't know where to go from there. So, yeah. Yeah. So, Battleground. What do I rate? I haven't read a lot of books in my life. So, because I haven't read a lot of books in my life, I'm very straightforward in rating. Goodreads does 5 stars. How many stars out of 5? I give this book 5 out of 5. No, I'm not doing it just because it's a Jim Butcher book, because in fact, I gave Peace Talks not a 5. I'm giving Battleground a 5 because I think it was damn fucking good. It deserved a 5. I gave Skin Game a 5. I gave Changes a 5. I think I gave Small Favor a 4. But those are all initial. But yeah, I think I give Battleground a 5 out of 5. It is a very good book. And I finished it. And Murphy's dead. Dead! She's dead! And I called it. So, I'm sorry, Murphy. You were my favorite character for so freaking long. She was actually one of my favorites all the way from Stormfront. And I know a lot of people are like, oh my gosh, Murphy's such a jerk in Full Moon. And it's kind of true. She was a jerk in Full Moon. But I still liked her. And I never liked Susan. I hated Susan and I liked Murphy. And then Murphy like went off and did her thing with Kincaid. And I was just like, ah! Rest in peace, warrior. She's my warrior. I wonder if we'll ever get one more short story with her. Just one more, but I get it if we don't. We have had quite a few with her, so I'll give it that. But yeah, she was my girl. My poor heart. Yeah. I guess I can close this off with like one final note because I don't remember if I said it or not. Only cried the once. I only cried because I misinterpreted Ebenezer's death. Not because of Murphy's death and not because of, you know, that stuff. Should probably make sure the book's right side up. It's not. Go me. Also, you can see I bent the cover. Kind of feel bad. Oops. Okay. Yeah. Really good book. It was brutal. So worth the wait, by the way. So worth the wait. I didn't wait 6 years. I waited 2 years, but so worth it. Oh my gosh. So yeah, I think I'll reread this book this weekend, if I can make time for it. It's likely that I might not even have the chance until Thanksgiving break. Who knows? I don't even know if Thanksgiving break I'll have a break, because Thanksgiving break is still more stuff to do, kind of thing. But yeah, I have finished Battleground. I will say a lot of my theories were wrong, but I've never been good at doing theories. I'm good at mysteries, so usually when Harry's detectiving, I can detective pretty well, but yeah, this fantasy prediction thing, not my thing. So yeah, but yeah, I finished Battleground. It's a fucking good book. It was a really, really good book. I'm going to spend the next day taking it in. I do have a lot of work tomorrow, and it is 3 a.m. at the moment. So, I'm gonna go to bed. Yay. Rest in peace, Karen Murphy. She's in that poster. I'm trying to remember where in the poster she is. She's in the bottom corner. She is right there in the poster where my finger is right now. My girl. Very pathetic wine. So, yeah. I'll leave. Read the book. It is really good.